welcome back to my channel. My name is Zandy, and for today's video, it's gonna be about the time that I almost got fired for yawning. Yes, you heard it right, for yawning. Before we get into today's video, if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would really appreciate if you were to hit that subscribe button and also hit that notification bell so you know every time I upload. Without further ado, let's jump right into today's video. So like usual, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready while I tell you this story. So this was back in 2019 and I was working at a dealership at the time, and I have been there, I want to say almost 3 years, and it was kind of just time to move on from that job. Not because I hated that job, but it was just more like I wanted a new career. I wanted something new. I wanted to find a more of a stable job because I was working part-time, and to work there full-time I wouldn't really get benefits like what I really wanted. And so I was like, oh, I'm just looking for a different career, different path, and I just want to look for something new. And so I was looking online and I saw that, you know, this dental place, it was for like a front desk receptionist, but I was gonna be working with like x-rays and stuff. And so I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool job. And I was working and I was basically having like a literature degree from when I graduated college, but it was just more so of like, oh, I could take my degree anywhere. Like, you know, literature is not gonna only be, you know, in X, Y, and Z category. Like I could go to different places. I was like, this is a good opportunity for me. I'm gonna go ahead and expand my knowledge and, you know, see what I can do, see if I'm capable of doing something else than, you know, a dealership life, because that's basically what I was kind of there, you know, and I was there for a really long time, and I was like, okay, maybe I could do something different, see if I'm capable. And so I applied for that job, that dentist, you know, the front desk position. And you know, I was gonna work with x-rays and stuff, but I was like, you know what, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to kind of get my hand and feet wet, you know, make sure that if I choose this career, then I'm gonna be set for life. And that's what I was thinking. And so I applied, I think in like March, like end of March time. And I get a call back and they do an interview. They're like, oh, you know, my name is so-and-so and I'm gonna be interviewing you. And you know, the person was really nice on the phone and she was calling from corporate. And so this dentist place, it was kind of like a chain of dentists. And I'm not gonna say the name for liability reasons, but it was like a chain dentist place. And so the person calls me in his headquarters and they're like, oh, like we really like your resume, we really like what you're offering, we've seen that you work with customers before, and we want to see if you want to get an interview. Well, they didn't say that. They said, oh, we would like you to come into an interview. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And so I was really pumped and I was really excited. I was like, man, you know, this is the opportunity that I was looking for, because I was looking for other jobs as well. I was only like that one dentist place and I applied to multiple places, and I got a callback few from here and there, but it wasn't really like sticking. Like it was always something that was off, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it's too far, or they're not paying enough, or you know, I was just going back and forth. They had a lot of cons more than pros. So for the dentist job, I was like, okay, they have more pros than cons. So I got an interview, and they interviewed me on the phone and they interviewed me like on site. So when I meant to go to meet up the lady, she was like, oh, nice to meet you. Let's call her, what should we call her? Let's call her Susan. So I walk in there and Susan greets me. She's like, hi, my name is Susan. You know, have a seat. I'm gonna go get the person who's gonna interview you. And so let's call the manager, what is a good name for the manager? Let's call her Sponge. So Sponge comes in and she sits me down, and the first thing she says to me, she was like, oh, have you worked with people before? I was like, of course, like I work for a dealership. And I was just kind of telling her like my background, like where I work from and so on and so forth. And then she was like, okay, so and this should have been the first red flag. And she was like, okay, well, you know, we don't take people who wear high heels. You know you can't wear high heels in here, right? I was like, no, I understand, but I just thought I would look professional. Like I was like speechless. I'm like, so in my head I was like, what do you want me to wear? Some tennis shoes or something like that? Like flats? I didn't have flats, so I was wearing heels. I mean, I feel like that's appropriate to wear, right, for an interview. Like it wasn't open toes or anything. It was just like heels, regular heels. I was like, no, I understand. I just wanted to be professional. So you should like, oh, okay. And then she went ahead and like interviewed me, and she was like, you know, can you deal with grumpy people? I was like, in my head, I was like, second red flag. I was like, what kind of question is that? But then I answered, I was like, no, I'm okay. Like, I adapt to situations. I adapt to people's attitudes and their personalities. So if you're grumpy, like, it's fine with me. Like, it doesn't really bother me. She's like, great. She was like, oh, where do you live? And, you know, asking like questions and stuff. She's like, okay, well, I really like you. You know, I'll give you a call back once I talk to the hiring manager. I was like, okay. And so I waited a few days, and the hiring manager calls me back. They're like, oh, it looks like she really liked you, so we're gonna go ahead and hire you. I was like, great. She told me like my start date. I was like, great. And so I got ready for the start date. I said my goodbyes, put my 2 weeks in to my dealership, and I was like, I'm gonna miss you guys, and it's been a fun ride. You know, let's all keep in touch. But you know, I hope you guys, you know, I hope to see you guys soon. You know, like, saying goodbye to people that you work for a really long time. It's kind of sad, you know, like you have to leave, and it's not like you're not gonna see them ever again, but just more like it's kind of sad, you know. I left the dealership, and it was about a week before I had to start my new job. So I took that time to kind of rest, to gather my thoughts, and you know, get prepared for my next job, because it was a new job. I didn't know what to expect, and I was just like super excited because this is something that I haven't done before. I was also nervous as well, and I was just like, cool, like I'm gonna go for a new career, hopefully like this job, and hopefully I get to stay for a really long time. I did at the dealership. I just hope that, you know, we all get along, and you know, just like things that you think about, you know, like when you're getting a new job. The day finally comes. I'm super pumped, and I was like, okay, today's the day that, you know, I'm gonna start my new job. And I got up super early, and I was just really pumped. I was really pumped for this job, and I was like, I'm so excited to start my new job. I'm so excited to just get there and just like make sure that, you know, I do a good job, and you know, I'm just really excited and I'm just pumped. I get there super early. Like, I get there around like 7:30 because they want me to be there by 8. I get there, and I just kind of, you know, park on the side because this is like in the city, so you know, like I didn't want to like not have parking and stuff. I get there really early. I eat my breakfast in the car because I didn't want to be late, so I'm like eating breakfast, and I'm just waiting for Susan to get there. Now Susan, I know I haven't like really talked about her. She's really sweet. Susan was actually like the assistant, and she was like the acting in receptionist because they didn't really have anyone. She got there really early, and she was like, oh, come on in. She brought me in, and she's like, oh, we turn on the lights when we get in. I was like, okay, cool, thanks for letting me know. And she's like, you'll get a key, don't worry, and this and that. I was like, okay, cool. And then so she was like, you'll be sitting in the front, and I'll be sitting in the back room with the manager, but you'll be sitting in the front dealing with customers. I was like, okay. And so she showed me to where I sit, and it was really small. It was like the size of my room right now. This one, it was pretty small. Like, the front desk was in the corner, and it was like over here was like the back area. It was really tiny. I was just kind of like looking around, and the first patient comes in, and she was like, oh, like you could just shadow me and I'll show you what to do. And I was like, okay. And so I was like kind of shadowing her. She was like doing like x-rays and stuff. I was just kind of like looking at her, and she's like, oh, this is not what you're gonna be doing, but I just want you to shadow me. And I was just like, okay. So that was a third red flag. And so I was just kind of looking at her, and I was just kind of seeing what she does. And then, you know, I was like, oh, do you know where the manager is? And she was like, oh, she comes in a lot later. She was showing me like how to check out the patients after they're done, how to collect their deductible, and how to run their insurance and all that. And it was my first day. And it went by really slow. Like, it was to the point where it went by super slow, and I was like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? And she's like, oh, you could start cleaning, and you could like organize and file and stuff. And she was just showing me how to like do the labels and stuff for like the patient folders and stuff. And I was like, okay. And I was like kind of learning how to do it and stuff. But at the same time, she wasn't really teaching me. She was just kind of showing me. And she's like, okay, you do it. But then I was getting confused because I had so many questions, because naturally I have a lot of questions. And so if I'm not understanding something, I'm gonna ask you over and over and over until I get it. And I'm not dumb. I'm not gonna sit here and ask you 25 times, but if I'm asking you 2 or 3 times to reiterate to understand what you're saying, you shouldn't be upset about that, correct? That's kind of foreshadowing of what my manager was doing, but we'll get there. Susan was super nice, but she wasn't like getting annoyed or irritated, anything like that. She was just like being like, oh, I understand where you're at, like I've been in your position before, and like, you know, don't worry about it, like I got you, like, you know, you're good. I was like, okay, so she's gonna help me out and I'm gonna learn this and I'm gonna be okay. And so I was like, I'm gonna tough it out, like I'm not gonna sit here and like complain. This is only my first day, like obviously I'm not gonna get everything all in one day, you know what I mean? And so the manager comes in and she looks pissed. And I was like, okay, so this is what she meant for grumpy. And she's like, good morning. I was like, okay, good morning. You know, I greeted her and I was like, cool, good morning. You know, how's your morning? She's like, that's good. She didn't really talk much. I guess she's not a morning person, which I don't really care if you're a morning person or not. But if someone greets you, you should be like, good morning. Like you should be a little bit more uplifted. Like even if you're not having a great morning or if you're tired, you shouldn't be like, good morning. Like, I don't know, that's just me. Like the place that I work now, nobody does that. And everyone's in a good mood because they leave whatever they're feeling at the door. When they come into work, they're like a different person, you know what I mean? Like that was another red flag. And I was like, okay, whatever. She's like that type of person, cool. She's like, do you know how to do this now? And I was like, well, I only been here, you know, 2 hours, so I kind of get it, but I'm not really sure. And she was like, well, you kind of have to get a little bit faster because we really want you to learn how to do it so you could be on your own. I was like, I understand. And in my mind, that's another red flag. If I'm not getting something on the first day, that should be tolerated because that's my first day. That's my first 2 hours. You should understand that I'm not getting something because I have never done this before. And I've put this on my resume. I've never worked for a dentist's office. I've never worked for anything dental related. I don't know the terminology. I don't know what x-rays are. I don't know anything. So for you to sit there and judge me not knowing how to do it, that's not okay. She's like, well, I just want you to learn really fast. I was like, okay, I'm trying my best, but you know, you have to give me some time because I'm not like a robot. I'm not gonna sit here and learn everything in like 2 seconds. Like I'm a human being. I need time to learn. She was getting kind of flustered and frustrated. I get it, but at the same time, it's just like, this is your job. You've been doing this for a long time. And she was like, oh yeah, I've been here for 25 years and I've been here for a really long time. I was like, okay, that's cool. Like you've been here for a really long time. That's great. But in my mind, it's like, you've been here so long that you don't know what it feels like to be at a new job and to learn new things. Like you don't understand that. You don't understand the point of view. I can't really sit here and get to know who you are as a manager because you're not really giving me the opportunity and you're showing me a really bad impression so far, and it almost makes me want to leave. But I'm not gonna leave on my first day. Like I'm gonna give this a try. Susan was super nice, like I said, and she was really like she was like the person, like she's super energetic, she's really helpful, she doesn't really complain. In the first few hours I saw that, I was like, oh, this is the type of person she is. You know, she really wants to help people, she knows what it feels like. And so I was like kind of vibing with Susan a little bit more than Sponge, the manager. The first day is over. Susan's like, you did great today. Like I know it was a lot, but you learned a lot. This is how you like turn off things, and this is how you put away things before you leave, and you have to lock the door and you have to turn off the lights. And she was going over like the procedure. The manager didn't really do anything. She just like packed up the stuff and she was like, okay, have a good night, and then she left. I was like, great, whatever. So the first day was good, and I called my boyfriend and my boyfriend was like, how was your first day? And I was like, oh, it was okay. The manager just kind of like, but you know, as time goes on, I'm pretty sure I'll get to know her. I'm pretty sure I'll be on like a good level with her. And he was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And so I called my mom and she was like, how was your first day? I was like, it was good. It was a little hard because I don't know this stuff, but you know, I'm pretty sure I'll catch on pretty fast because I'm a pretty quick learner. So I was like, oh, okay, this shouldn't be too bad. If I'm taught correctly, I should be able to do this no problem. So the next day I woke up, I was like, okay, today's another day. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna learn as quickly as possible. I'm gonna grasp all this information, and I'm just gonna try to get on the manager's good side because I really want to be on a good side. Which in my opinion, you should never feel like that. You should never feel like you have to be on your manager's good side, because you feel like they're gonna fire you at any moment. Like, you shouldn't feel like that from a manager. Like, a manager shouldn't make you feel like that because they're your leader, they're your manager, you know? They should make you feel like you're welcome and they want you to succeed and they want to watch you grow as a person, not like judge you and be like, oh, you don't know this already? Like, I shouldn't be like that. But I was ignoring that. I was like, no, I'm just gonna, you know, do my best today, and I'm just gonna try to prove myself like I could be a fast learner, and I'm gonna do this. And so I got up, got ready for work, and then I drove to work. And then I got there early again, and you know, this time I had a key. I had a key really fast. I got in, I parked our car, and I went in, turned on all the lights, and I did exactly what Susan has told me the day before. That was that. And you know, Susan got there like 10 minutes after I did, and she was like, good morning, how's your day? And I was like, it's good, how is yours? And she was just conversating with me, and she was like, okay, let me turn all the stuff on, you know, because I only turned the lights on. She turned on all the other like x-ray machines and stuff, and I was like, you know, just conversating with her. Susan was like, oh, you're gonna do the mail today. I was like, oh, great, you know, I'm excited to do that. She was showing me like how to do the mail and stuff. She was like, this is how you fold it, and since they're like down the street, you don't have to like mail them out. You could just drive and then you could just go ahead and deliver them. I was like, okay. And she was like, I'll show you. So we wait for the manager to get there, and Susan was like, hey Sponge, I'm gonna go ahead and show, you know, Sandy around how to do the mail. And then Sponge was like, okay. Susan takes me out in her car, and we're just talking, and basically she was just like, you know, I know, in the car she was like, I know like Sponge is really hard to get too used to, but you'll get used to her. She takes a little time to warm up to. And I was like, no, I totally understand, everyone is different. I'm not gonna judge her like from just yesterday, like, you know, like that's not me. Like, I'm gonna wait a little bit to get an impression of her. Like, you know, I'm never gonna be the person to judge you on the first day, like the first time I meet you, because you might be completely different. You might be a different person. Like that day you might be irritated or sad or whatever reason you may have, and I like to give the people the benefit of the doubt when I first meet them. If I first meet you and I get a bad impression, the second time around I'm gonna give you another chance. And if you're different the second time around and you're more pleasant and your vibe is a little bit different, then I'm gonna be like, okay, cool. But I'm not gonna sit here and judge you on the first day that I meet you. Even though you gave me a bad impression, I'm not gonna judge you. I was like, no, don't worry, like I'm okay, like I'm just gonna wait. I'm not gonna judge her, like, obviously. And she's like, okay, well, you know, she's really nice. She's just like that. I was like, oh, no, that's not a problem. And so Susan shows me how to like deliver the mail, and I deliver it, and I was like, oh, this is cool, you know, it's really close, it's down the street, you know, you get to get out of the office once in a while. I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And so she showed me around like to the different like dental offices, and she's like, this is, you know, how you go to different places. And she was introducing me to different people, and they're like, oh, this is gonna be Sandy, she's gonna be the one who's gonna deliver the mail to you from now on, and so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, cool. And they're like, oh, nice to meet you. And everyone was super nice, like super, super nice. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is awesome. I'm excited to work here. We get back to the office and showing me how to do x-rays now. And she's like, okay, so, you know, this is how you do them. Like, I'll show you how to do it and just pay attention. And then if you have any questions, let me know. So she went through how to do the x-rays. She was kind of doing it fast because she's used to it already, but she was a dental assistant, so I get it. Like, it's easy for her to do it, but I was just like kind of learning, kind of writing it down, because obviously I didn't know. I was just like learning as fast as I could because I want to grab the material. She was teaching me how to do it, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm learning how to do it kinda, and it was on a computer, so I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is kind of my forte. Like, I know how to work with computers a little bit, so I was like, cool. Like, showing me how to do it in Photoshop, and I had a little bit of Photoshop experience, so I was like, okay, cool. Like, I could use this to my advantage. I was doing that, so I'm just like, okay, so do you get it now? I was like, well, this is my first time doing it, but I think I'm getting it. And so she didn't really talk to me, and then she was like, oh, I need to talk to you later about something, and I was like, okay. And so she pulled me to the side, like on my 10-minute break, and she was like, this is how you're gonna clock out, clock in, you know, and so on and so forth, you know, like the regular stuff. I was like, okay. You know, that was the second day, and I didn't really do much except for like just do Photoshop and stuff, and that kind of helped like the time go a little bit faster. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I could get used to this, and you know, I could really learn how to do this professionally. And so the second day came to a close, and so I go home. I'm feeling much better. I was like, okay, the manager's finally getting along with me a little bit. She's like kind of conversating with me, you know, not a lot, but she was, and she kind of offered me like fruits and stuff throughout the day. And I was like, okay, cool. And so second day was a close. I was like, this is great. Like, I'm feeling much better. I feel like the manager and I are getting on a little bit better terms, and hopefully this is like the place I'm looking for to work in. You know, I'm really excited. The third day comes around, and so I get up, I'm pumped. I was like, okay, cool. I'm finally getting better at this. I'm finally learning a little bit better. I'm learning a little quicker, and I'm learning how to do this. And so I get up, get ready for work, go to work, you know, same time, 7:30, and then I get into the office, turn on all the lights, and wait for Susan. And Susan comes in, she's like, good morning, how's your day going? I was like, it's going great. And we're just conversating. And so the manager comes in, and I'm like on my computer doing stuff, and at this time there was no appointments. I believe the next appointment was at like 10 or 11, I believe. And so it was like 8 or 9. So there was nobody in the lobby, nobody in the hallway. There was nobody except for the 3 of us, because it was only 3 people in the office. And so I was like doing my own thing on the Photoshop, and I was like editing and cutting and whatever. And the manager was on the side here in the hallway doing something, and then I yawned. I yawned like this, and I was like, oh my God, like, excuse me, like, you know, quietly. I was like, excuse me, and I was like doing this stuff, and I didn't think too much of it. And so I was going through my day, the patients come in, everything is fine, and we're closing down for the day. And I was talking to Susan about something, and I turn around and I'm like finishing, I'm like gathering my stuff, like, oh, okay, well, I'll do this tomorrow. And then the manager comes, like when we're about to like close up, and so the manager comes to the right. I was like gathering my stuff. She was like, you did good today. I was like, oh, thank you. She's like, you're learning really fast. It's like, oh, okay, great, thank you. And she's like, but you know, there is one thing. And I was like, what is that? And she was like, you know, if you're too tired, you shouldn't come to work too tired. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, because I saw you yawn earlier. I was like, okay. And she's like, and I don't like when people yawn. And I looked at her, I was like, oh. And she's like, if you're tired, you should sleep sooner. And then she walked away, and I was like, okay. That's an odd thing to say to somebody. You don't like it when people yawn. That's something that I can't control. That's something that that's my reflex. That's something that my body does naturally. And you tell me not to yawn? Like, I get so pissed. I get so mad about it now, because like, who are you to say to me to not to yawn when there's nobody in the lobby, there's no patients, and I did this when I yawned? So I don't understand. And so I was like, oh, okay. So in that time I was like, okay. And then she left. And then I think it was a Friday. I went home, and I was just thinking about it on the way home. And I was just so mad. I was so upset, because how can a manager, how can somebody in a professional field tell another person who just started a few days ago to not to yawn because you don't like a person when they yawn? Like, how can you do that? Like, I don't understand. Like, I still don't understand to this day. I was thinking about it, and it was on Friday. So Friday night, I called my mom after work, and I told her. My mom's like, well, I guess you have to find another job. And I was like, I guess I have to, because I shouldn't be treated like in a place who's gonna treat me like that. I shouldn't be in a place like that. You know, I shouldn't be in a job like that. How dare you? How dare you to tell somebody to not to yawn because you don't like it? Like, that's not okay. Like, that is really not okay. I don't know what you were thinking. I don't know what your thought process was. Nobody should tell anybody, oh, I don't like when you yawn. I don't like when people yawn. That's not something that you want to say, because you can't. That's literally something you can't just say to somebody. That's so rude. Sorry, I went on a little tangent, but I get so upset about this topic still, because how can you tell an employee that? Like, I just don't understand. In my whole time of working, and even though I'm young, in my whole time of working different places, I have never, ever encountered a manager telling anyone that, ever. Like, what? I don't know if that manager was trying to intimidate me. I don't know if that manager was trying to scare me, but that didn't work. That just made me angry. That just made me really infuriated. After that, on Saturday, I wrote an email. This is what I wrote. I wrote that I feel like nobody should be able to say that to them, and you shouldn't be able to tell somebody you can't yawn because I don't like it when you yawn. I don't like when people yawn. Like, you can't say that. Anyways, so after that, I wrote the email. I sent it to them on Monday. Didn't show up for work. Because what's the point of going to work if somebody's not gonna respect you like that? Like, I don't care if I look like someone you could just trample over and you could just walk all over, but I'm not the type of person to just take it and go to work and just put on a fake smile, because I'm not like that. If you don't treat me with respect, I'm not gonna treat you with respect. Like, it should be vice versa, and I wholeheartedly believe in that. If you treat me like crap, I'm gonna treat you like crap. I'm not gonna sit here and stand for it. I'm not gonna sit here and just take it. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And so I didn't show up for work Monday. The manager, I don't think she texted me or called me because I blocked her number because I didn't want to go to work. Because who wants to go to work to a place like that? Like, I can't believe Susan lasted for long as she did, because she, I don't know, like, I don't know how she lasted for that long. I don't know if she's still there. If you ever see this video, I'm really hoping you're not there anymore, but if you are, I hope for the best for you, because I don't know how you deal with that. I don't know how you deal with a person like that. I don't know how you deal with a manager like that. Like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't. And so that was the story of the time that I almost got fired. Well, I technically didn't get fired for it, but it almost looked like she was going to fire me because I yawned, because she didn't like it. So anyways, I got in trouble for it, and that was the story of the time that I almost got fired, almost, for yawning. I guess the moral of the story is to not stand for people disrespecting you and being rude like that, and having a manager do that to you, especially who is supposed to be a role model. No, you shouldn't be able to stand for that. Like, no, get out of there, don't deal with it. Like, and I know it's hard to look for another job, but at the end of the day, your happiness and your self-worth and your mental happiness is worth much more than dealing with the crappy manager who's gonna put you down like that, just gonna disrespect you and be rude like that. That was the story. I know I went a little bit of a tangent with the moral there, but I really want to get the message out there. But yeah, that was the story of the time that I almost got fired for yawning. Yep. I really hope you guys like this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would really appreciate if you were to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next one.